Hello and welcome to another episode of the Halftime Podcast, the 15-minute show which will hopefully fill up your halftime break. And we are discussing a very interesting topic today, and I'll come on to that in just a second. But before I do, please give a round. Hang on. We'll go back to that. I was going to say, please give a round of applause, but I mean, I guess there's no studio audience here. But
it's a very underwhelming welcome.
I know. I'm sorry to say, Charlie, but you know what? I will give you a round of applause. Oh. Charlie, it's fantastic to have you here. Charlie Pumfrey, our head of content from Halftime Cuppa, of course, and you're our resident Brighton fan.
I know, resident nutcase.
I wouldn't say nutcase.
I think Jake
takes that one. Jake takes that one.
Jake might be unhappy if I take that one.
But yeah, always a pleasure to have you on. I'm really pleased to have you back on. Like previously when we Jake and I spoke in the previous episode. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Dilly ding, dilly dong for that last one. Do love that.
Very much so. It's kind of nice though. I was thinking about it, and obviously you've had a chance to listen to the previous episode, but I was thinking about it. It's really nice to just get back into the swing of things, and obviously, as mentioned in that previous episode, loads of us, Charlie included, we've just finished university, or we had finished university.
Look behind the magic curtain, yeah.
Yeah, we sort of just went out into the big wide world, I guess. And yeah, we had to get proper jobs.
Trying our best to do adult stuff.
Exactly. Adulthood.
Maybe not adult stuff. Don't quote that. I don't want to see that on a t-shirt. That's not.
I'm sure we can get one of them out for Christmas. How about that, Charlie? But nevertheless, Charlie is on here today to discuss with myself the reasonably latest news of the Premier League adopting VAR, which I believe comes in next season. I think they voted in. So I want to try to kind of hear Charlie's thoughts. I'm going to give him my thoughts as well. But Charlie, your gut reaction when you sort of heard that news that VAR is coming to the Premier League, that very anticipated news. What was your thoughts?
It's a surprise, really. I think all the noises that were coming out of the Premier League were that, okay, no, we're more of an entertainment product than sort of anywhere else, and that it would be unnecessary for the Premier League because our refereeing is elite anyway, which is an absolute joke. No bias whatsoever.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's tied into a result, isn't it?
No. Not to be fair. The referee was good. The referee was passable yesterday, so it's all right.
Who did you have?
Oh God, I don't even know. I don't know the name.
Okay. I will find out.
A player got sent off for diving, so James Anderson got sent off in the Brighton versus Leicester game. I'm going to date this podcast. It's I think.
Go on.
God, magic. There's no point having a magic curtain with this, is there? So basically, it's a surprise because the noises coming out of the Premier League teams are very much sort of, we're not doing that. That's not the sort of thing we want over in the Premier League. Or we'll kind of see what everyone else does first. Let everyone else take all the risk, basically. And then we'll pick up the pieces of wherever it falls. And I think they've kind of realised now that, there aren't really any risks to this. There haven't been any decisions that have been made wrong because of VAR. They've all sort of been either flipped from a bad decision to a good decision, or proven that a good decision was a good decision.
Yep.
I think it's, from a personal perspective, I think it's good. I think it will lead to less uncertainty in games and less risk for teams that, we're not necessarily going to lose a league title because a referee got a decision wrong or a linesman got a decision wrong. It takes a lot more of that. And I think it'll take a lot of the heat off the referees, in fairness. I think it'll take a lot of the pressure on them away, which might not necessarily be the best thing for them if they're looking for that starlight, looking at Mark
no one in particular.
Yeah.
No, not Klatz. Not Klatz.
Oh, are we talking about Mike Dean, are we?
you may be.
He loves it. No, he'll make sure he's there. He'll have a camera tracking him at all points. Mike Dean, will he? Jesus.
Oh
Oh,
dear.
God, he loves it. But yeah,
Yeah, go on.
I think it's one of it's one of those things that will come in, it will be introduced, we'll all accept it, and then in a few years' time we'll be like, oh, how do we live without it?
Yeah, it's getting that way, isn't it? It's getting that way. Just before I move on to sort of the point, Chris Kavanagh was your ref yesterday.
There we go. Don't do that.
If I've not butchered his name, but he's one of the, I believe he's quite new to the Premier League, so that's that. If you're saying he's had a good game, and obviously he's sent off.
It's difficult with referees because they're not really meant to be noticed. In all reality, they're meant to just make the call and that's it and move on. And the problem is with a lot of the referees, I think now it's getting to a completely different topic. But I think there's a few of them that creep in, like him, Mark Clattenburg. I'm getting his name wrong. Clattenburg. He has another name. Him talking about a game between Tottenham and Chelsea when Leicester won the league, and how he let that run over to be more entertaining. Because he knew that if he let it spill over a little bit, it would be more exciting and his name would get out. And obviously he's got out of refereeing what he's wanted to get out in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East.
Okay, no, I could understand your point there. I think there's, to an extent, and I would back him up in the sense of, I think there's a credibility side of things, and I think he's a very, I know you're not going to like this, but I think he is a credible official.
I think he definitely is. I think that you don't referee the amount of top games that he has without being at least partially good at what you do.
Exactly. But I think what it will do by introducing VAR to the Premier League is obviously, like from a game standpoint, it should eliminate all the errors, really, shouldn't it? It should eliminate the major errors, obviously not the minor ones, but the major ones. So I think that's surprisingly it is going to be a good thing. I think looking back, because obviously we did a podcast ages and ages ago during the World Cup. We did one, I think, even before the World Cup, talking about VAR being introduced into the Premier League maybe one day. Well, it's crazy to think we're actually now talking about it, and it is going to be introduced. But actually, it's come a long way, and I think the timings have got a lot better. There is still confusion. I still think there's confusion, but certainly if you're at a game, I would imagine, and I've not had the again, this may be different in reality, but I've not had I suppose the pleasure of actually being at a game where VAR has been operating and to have a decision reviewed as such, and you not to know anything. Because and if this is the worry I have about all of this, is if you're a fan at a game and I don't know, they call a goal goes in and then the ref gives a free kick, but I mean, to an uneducated fan or someone who's not really spotted what's happened, they'd be thinking, why is there a free kick? Like, what happened? Was he offside? Like, there's no sort of explanation. Oh, I can't get my words out. There's nothing explained to them.
No, I think that's a good point, and something that people have raised is the experience of the fan in the stadium.
And I mean, this is the thing you've got to bear in mind. They are the ones who are actually paying probably more money for that game than what a Sky Sports customer is watching a game on TV for, or something like that.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, I've had the displeasure of being in a ground when a goal was called for offside and then brought back for review and it was said to be a goal, and the time you spend in between is a bit of a mess because it isn't very well communicated. And that was in the MLS, so that's probably not the shining light of football. If you look back at how they wanted to change penalties back in the 90s, that's a fun video for anyone.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get that little quote on a shirt, I think. But
to be honest, it just needs the presentation aspect of it can be worked on. That presentation of just showing on a screen like they do at cricket or the rugby. It just says VAR, and then that's it. Move on. The only issue with that is that you're not allowed to on screens in football stadiums you're not allowed to show any controversial moments.
Yeah.
And whether that would fall under the sort of the scope of that is a completely different question. But it'll be one of those things that the game will demand what it needs, and it will get what it needs. Basically, fans will get the presentation of the game that they want, because ultimately it will all come back to them.
Yeah. Certainly with how quick technology, social media and stuff like that, they'll be able to view the clips. But I just feel like, as a supporter, why would I go to a game? I mean, obviously this wouldn't be a thing to sort of deter me from going, but if you're going to a game, you've paid that money, and you don't have a clue, whereas someone sitting at home who's paid a fraction of that price, it doesn't care about that game really. It's just watching it for the sake of watching it, or has some interest, I guess. Actually does know what's going on, whereas you don't know what's going on and you're there. Like that for me is the slight confusion.
Yeah, but I think to be honest, I mean, would you not agree that this conversation is about the presentation of VAR rather than its implementation?
100%. Now, I mean, what they've done well now is that it's kind of clear what they're actually going to review, and that bit of it and the decision actually in the review, as expected, is pretty much on point every time, pretty much correct. In rare instances, and I've maybe seen one on Twitter once. I don't think I've seen many where they've got the decision wrong. So that's excellent, because essentially out of all of those potential situations, only one or two have gone wrong. From I mean, you're looking at least like 30, 40, 50, even more. So that's good.
Yeah, I think it's very positive that it's making a difference, and I think it will make a difference.
My big question to you, though, and I've been thinking about it, do you think it would benefit the smaller teams more or the bigger teams?
So it's a really good question, because I think the balance of it can go both ways. I think the balance of maybe a team at the top getting a decision when it's piling on the pressure against the smaller team, you could make an argument both ways. I don't know the statistics, unfortunately. I'm not going to be able to give you those, but I don't know. It's a really good question. It's one of those things that I think will, unfortunately, whichever way it falls, one side of the equation will be unhappy about it. And that, even though it will just be a pure coincidence between the statistics, at least for my opinion anyway, it would be that it's something that wouldn't be, I don't know. That's a very good question, but I think people will always put a bias on something.
Because I was going to say, I think people will notice it more for the smaller teams. So say, I don't know, no disrespect, but say if okay, we'll say Norwich. Say Norwich rock up and play Manchester United, you'd probably expect the lion's share at Old Trafford. You'd probably expect the lion's share of any sort of dodgy decision, not dodgy, any sort of 50-50 decisions to probably swing in favour of Man United. However, now with this, and obviously with major incidents such as a goal going in, that is just giving that bit of reassurance and that bit of protection for the smaller team. Or, I mean, at the end of the day, it shouldn't really matter. With VAR, it doesn't really matter what team you are, does it? It's still going to review the incident in isolation, which I think is actually going to benefit probably smaller teams, maybe slightly more, but visibly, I feel like fans will pick up on that a lot more. I don't think decision-wise there'll be much difference, but I think you will see there'll be much more exposure that way round, rather than smaller teams getting less decisions and bigger teams getting more decisions. If you get me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in those situations it might take away a bit of the bias, whether it's a conscious or unconscious bias from the referees. Whether sometimes there's decisions where, let's say, for example, let's follow your example at Norwich. You're Norwich at Man United. Congratulations on a good run recently, by the way.
Thank you.
Good little team coming together there. Say, for instance, Timu Pucky goes over in the United box. The score's 1-0 Man United. This basically twists the game, doesn't it? It tilts the game.
Yeah.
There aren't many referees that I can think of that would give that decision. Because the media focus after that will be on the referee.
In isolation, yeah. I mean, in isolation,
Oh yeah, definitely. I think all the situations will be in isolation.
Yeah, we're talking very hypothetically that.
Oh, for sure, a very specific situation.
Could be Stonewall. It could be, but
it could be whether it's a dive, all sorts of questions.
I think we're both on the same page here. That it will. I personally think it will benefit those smaller clubs, but you just won't. You'll notice it a lot more than what it actually does benefit. So it'll benefit a little bit, but I don't think there's much wrong anyway as it is. I don't think there's that much biased. Because if there was, then there'd be outrage anyway. So
no, I totally agree, but I think you're right, and I think the reason they're doing it is because the cost to entry for it. For the sake of getting a few more right, it's worth the implementation of it. Just for the sake of making sure we don't have a decision get called in a certain game that leads to a team getting relegated to win the league,
costing them millions of pounds. Yeah, I mean that's the thing at this level, isn't it? Like if one team loses one result or whatever, it's so fine margins that that could cost them not only the game but the season, and as a result, it could have a knock-on effect for seasons to come. So yeah. Anyway, that's brought us to the end of the debate. I would like to discuss that a little bit more. I think what we will do, Charlie, I think in future ones we're going to grab a few others because I feel like, sadly, no disrespect, but you and I both support teams down probably the lower end
on one side of the equation. Yeah. Definitely, no. I think VAR has got multiple perspectives, which is a good thing about football.
Yeah, definitely.
It will even in its implementation, it will cause not controversy, but it will cause conversation.
And that's the one thing that worried me when VAR was discussed, was whether that not the discussion element, that sort of conversational side will disappear, and it'll be very black and white.
Just to throw, there was one comment from I can't remember who it was, Jamie Carragher. That was it. Jamie Carragher made a point on a different podcast. Other podcasts are available, but not advised.
Which is all right. It's not the BBC, but carry on.
Right. He made a comment that someone asked him about, what are people in the pub going to talk about? And he just turned around, blank-faced, and said, they'll talk about something else. They'll find something else to talk about. There are plenty of events in a football match that can be talked about other than the refereeing decisions.
And I think that may be, again, in hindsight, probably a good thing, as in it'll take away the animosity, hopefully vindicated at the ref, because they only get one stab at it. So yeah, like hopefully that helps them out, I think. Okay, interesting. Yeah, we'll see if we can grab someone in future ones. I want to get a wide range.
Get a part two. Get a part two.
Yeah, I think we might have to get part two. See if we can grab someone of a bigger club, and you know what? I think it would be good as well if we found a fan, or we knew someone who supported a club where maybe a different European league or MLS or whatever, where they have this already in action. Obviously, we've got this in the FA Cup, but the FA Cup is very infrequent, and it's not quite the same as a league season, isn't it?
No, it's not quite the same sample size.
No, so less frequent. So I think that might be something we consider.
Definitely, that sounds like a really good discussion. It's a more general VAR. There is a discussion that needs to be had more generally about how far it can reach. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so on that note, then, it's obviously brought us to the end of this discussion. Very enjoyable discussion, and one we are going to carry on, as we've already sort of mentioned. But now's your time to let us know your thoughts. You can leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and you should find a nice little poll there for you to cast your view on whether VAR will be a good thing for the Premier League. And please do let us know. Even if you tweet us on our Twitter at halftime_Cuppa. Feel free to do that. That would be great. We'd love to hear your views on that. And let's get the discussions going, because I think part 2 is definitely going to happen.
For sure. Yeah. Much like all good franchises, we need another installment of this.
Exactly. There'll be a sequel.
Yes. This is the post-credit scene. There will be a sequel.
On that note, then, talking of credits, do you fancy giving away your social media handle so that people can follow you and take the discussion further on social media?
Prepare yourself for a incredibly complex Twitter handle.
Oh, okay, exciting.
That's at Charlie Pumfrey. Just my name.
Oh, how original.
So complex.
How original.
I know. The one and only.
The one and only Charlie Pumfrey. Wow. Fantastic. Thank you, Charlie. Mine, if my throat allows me, because my voice is going.
Danny's limping through. Go on. Get to the end, Danny.
I don't know what it is. I've definitely, it's since I've FaceTimed my mum. That's what it is. I think I've caught something from that.
You've caught something over FaceTime.
Over FaceTime, yeah.
Technology's wrong. Been off air.
It's going to be funny when she listens back to this.
For sure.
But nevertheless, my social media handle on Twitter is at Danny Cook 1996. I had to think about that one then.
What is it?
What is it? Is there an underscore? No, it is at Danny Cook 1996. Hit me up on there. We'll be happy to discuss VAR in more detail and depth. Sadly, that's the end. If you enjoyed it, let us know. And until next time, take care and keep on halftime cuppering.
That's a slogan.
That's the slogan. We'll get that on a t-shirt. How about that?
It sounds good.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Take care.
Goodbye.